Lauren with Me Too Many Voices, and this is part of the Me Too Many Voices and Friends series for the community by the community. I'm excited to be joined by Emily Bernath, writer and human extraordinaire, and I'm excited to be chatting with her today about finding truth and purpose after sexual assault, which I think we can all agree is pretty challenging. We all have a different journey, and excited to, I'm going to pass it over to you, Emily. Thanks again for being here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So I think how I'm going to break this up is I'm just going to, into two different sections. I'm going to share a little bit about my own story, maybe just give you all a few things to take away and reflect on post this talk here. So like I said, I'm in Salt Lake City right now. So hopefully it is the same wherever you all are right now. Yeah. So when I was actually talking with Lauren a few days ago about this, I shared with her that one of my own personal mantras for why I write and what I do is in the phrase that when we know the truth will set us free. And so a lot of, I want people to be free, and I want them to know the truth that sets them free. And so that's what a lot of my writing is. It's, the chapters will address different truths. What do they mean? And how can I gain freedom from these truths in my own life? And one of the reasons why that phrase is my passion comes from being sexually assaulted myself. So I'll share a little bit of that story in general. For me, I was in college, and the night that I was raped was really the first time that I had called out on God's name for years. And so I guess as a disclosure, the books I write are devotionals. They're very faith-based. And this was a big pivotal moment in my life. And it wasn't because it wasn't a good encounter, right? I was really mad. I was like, God, why did you do this to me? What just happened? And I had a lot of questions. I didn't think originally that what had happened to me was my fault. I knew I didn't ask for it. So I was pretty open about my experience. I had told people what had happened afterwards, and got faced with a lot of doubt that I know a lot of us go through, like, what did I do? What did I say? There was all these questions trying to figure out what had happened that night. And all I really wanted was for someone to believe me. So I was a little bit confused, and a lot of it, the experience left me personally with a lot of feelings of worthlessness and disgust. I didn't look at my body the same after that had happened. I thought it had been used or tainted. I was, right. Like I wasn't worth as much as I was pre that happening. And I could not let those feelings go. Like they just haunted me. And so for me personally, at that time, what I did to get rid of them was to drink more, to just forget about the feelings. And that was not the healthy answer, but it was the only one I had at the time. And I can tell you that it was not freeing at all. All it did was kind of push the feelings away for a day, and then they'd come back. And then I was just constantly stuck in this like spiral of shame and guilt and, just disgust of myself. And it was in this time that I wanted a mentor, someone I could turn to just talk and like vent a little bit. And for me specifically, I wanted a female mentor. And it's not because I hated all men or anything like that. That was not true. I wanted a female mentor that I could go and have, conversations and relationships with. And I didn't have that at that point in my life, because I didn't make that a priority. I didn't make investing in relationships with other women a priority prior to being raped. So I didn't have that. And so I spent these few months just in this darkness of shame and disgust. And someone came into my life, and this woman, just totally, she wanted to be my friend. And I thought that was totally weird because I had been open about what had happened, and I had done this with so many people, and all of a sudden someone was finally like listening. It was kind of weird. I was like, oh my God. And so this woman, she invited me into a community, and that's where I started going back into to church, into a faith-based community for the first time in years. And it was kind of this double life a little bit, for because I was still stuck in this, I seeing myself with this worthlessness and disgust, but also wanting something different and willing to explore, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, I didn't know what was happening or which side to pick, but I enjoyed that people were willing to invest in me. And so it was really through that community where it was just this one message one night where someone had spoken this truth of like, that my body is valuable. And it totally rocked my world. I was like, whoa, you think so? Like, you think that? Because I don't think that at all. And it really caused me to want to learn more and to get involved. And like, okay, I didn't necessarily believe it right away, but I was like, if this is really true, like if this could be true for me, then I want that to be true. Because I can't stand living the way that I'm living right now. And it wasn't overnight. It took years. But that has definitely, like, I believe that for myself now, and it has totally changed my life, right? Because I went from thinking that I didn't deserve, it even impacted the way I saw my future relationships, right? I don't deserve a good man. Like the type of man I think I want in a relationship, that's not going to happen because of, my body is just, it's just tainted, right? Like they deserve something better than what I am, right? And that's not true, but that's what I told myself. And so I guess I just want to take this part and leave you all with a few truths that I really just would love you all to just sink in and just meditate on. And the first one being is that no human gets to take away from or determine your value. They do not have the power to do that. And I know that is so much easier said than done because I've been there and I let someone take away my inherent value. But that is not true. And they don't have the power to do that. And we don't have to allow that. So I just want you all to know so much that your value was determined way before, and nothing that happens to you on this earth will ever take that away. So please do not believe the lies in the world that tells you otherwise, because they're lies. And really the freedom that comes from that is just, you get to just really you get to own your own value. You don't get to let anyone else own that for you. So yeah, that would be the first one, that no human gets to take away your value. The second one is that being raped or sexually assaulted does not take away from your lovability. Because that is a complete lie. And I know I told that to myself, right? And I said that in those relationships, like I don't deserve a good, loving relationship because I'm not a person worth having that loving relationship with. And that is a complete lie. Your reason for being here and, any of that is not taken away from someone, doing something to you that you didn't ask for. Absolutely not. And so you are just as capable of being loved now as you were yesterday, as you were 10 years ago. And And the truth is that you are loved unconditionally. And that means you cannot do anything to take away, you know, specifically in my case, I would believe God's love away from you. Like that can never, ever happen. You are loved no matter what. And that again, so like I would just encourage you to, I don't know, seek that out because I know it's not easy to think that for yourself. Like I didn't know how to love myself after being assaulted. And you know, I really had to find that from other sources and really use that to teach me how to love myself again. Right. Because I mean, that's really the reason that I just kept drinking. It was just to ignore, you know, my current state and everything that was going on. And I didn't want to engage with myself, and I didn't expect anyone else to want to either. Yeah. So truth number one, no human gets to take away your value or determine it. Truth number two, you being raped or sexually assaulted does not take away from your lovability. And then the third one, which will kind of lead into the next section, but being raped or sexually assaulted does not minimize your purpose. So, you know, a lot of times this kind of, I mean, obviously we don't ask for it. It happens in inopportune times. You know, maybe you're on this path to doing great things and all of a sudden this happens to you and you feel like your purpose is completely gone. That is not true. So, you know, please just don't, whatever you were doing before and what you're investing in and doing great things in the world, please don't let someone else make you stop that. Because the world needs the purpose that you were brought here for and what you have to say and what you have to do. And, you know, if you didn't have a purpose, we wouldn't be here, quite honestly. So, you know, that looks a little bit different for all of us. But again, no human has the authority to tell you that your purpose is what it is. Yeah, they just don't. But yeah, so I'm a big person on definitions and what does this really mean and how do I believe it for myself, right? And so a lot of my books or all of the lessons will use a specific definition and kind of explore that. So the word purpose, the definition for it is the reason for which something exists or made. And so for me, at the time of my own assault, I was kind of in a big question mark of like, what just happened to me? What am I doing? What you know, like it was just total, I had no idea. And I was just at a very exploratory phase of life anyway in college and figuring out like, what should I study and where am I going? I had a lot of questions anyways, and that certain, like being assaulted certainly didn't help that. So really it was a time of like, what am I going to do with this? And so like I had mentioned, I had craved, you know, mentorship from another female to kind of have someone to be there for me and communicate with. And after finding that and getting involved in a community, the purpose that got put on me is that I wanted to be that same kind of light for other women that I had found myself. Because I know I'm not the only one that feels that way or wants that, to have that in their life. And so that was really, I was like, this is why I'm here. This, you know, this is what I'm made for. And I love talking to people. I love making new friends. I'm like, I'll be friends with everyone. I will be a light to as many people as I can be, God willing. Right. So that was, you know, I wanted that. And so I didn't really know how to make that happen, but I was like, I could lead a small group. So that's what I had the idea for. I was like, I'm going to lead a small group. I'll have women come to my house. We can, you know, just be in community with each other. And a few years later, I was given an opportunity to lead a small group. And I was like, okay, great. Purpose found, right? Like, this is magic. Um, so I meet with these two women and they're like, all right, Emily, like, let's think about leading a small group. And they're like, dream it up and tell me what you think it looks like. They didn't tell me any guidelines. They're like, we want to report, just like, give us, you know, your vision for what this is, right? And so from that meeting, it was basically like, you need to write. And I was like, oh, got it, God. Like, so basically it was like, all right, well, you want to lead this group, you have to write whatever content it is to lead it with. Like, what are you going to talk about when these people come to your house, right? Like, you got to have something to talk about, or are they just going to show up and you know, be awkward silence. I'm pretty good with awkward, by the way. You know, Lauren and I were talking about this. I thrive in awkward situations. They're my favorite. It's probably, I don't know, maybe that's weird. I don't care. But yeah, so I was like, all right, so I'm gonna write about this. What am I writing about? I don't know. And so that's kind of where the truth came in. It was like, I want people to know the truth and I want them to be set free, you know. And so that's where my whole writing journey started. Is I was like, this, that was the only intention I had. I was like, I'm writing these lessons, people are going to come to my house, we're going to talk about this, right? It'll be great. That's what I thought. And that, you know, spoiler alert, the small group never happened. Why? Because yeah, I guess other people had other things in mind, and along the way I ran into this person at a random event and they were like, you're going to be a best-selling author, Emily. Like, we need to get you in contact with someone. This, what you're writing right here, is going to be good. Like, well, that's weird. So then I got introduced to a writing mentor, which eventually turned into this, you know, what I thought was only going to be 10 people at my house going over the stuff, into a published book that's all across the country now. And I'm not even saying that to make me sound awesome or whatever. I'm like, okay, my degree is in chemistry, guys. I got a master's degree in business. I am not in English anything. Like, that has never been what I thought was my strong suit. So the fact that this is what I do with my life now is kind of weird, but I just rolled with it. And so I guess I say that because it's like, um, it all started with me operating on this purpose of, I want to be a light to other women. That was it. And you know, all the rest of the like success and the encounters and even being here today, like, crazy. I would have never dreamed this for my life. But it all started from like this passion and purpose of, this is what I'm here for. And it took years and years to find that. But let me tell you, like, everything that I do to operate in like what I really feel I'm here for, like, it succeeds. It can't fail. Like, and it succeeds because that, like, all of us are here for a different reason. We all have a unique purpose and no one can fulfill that except for us. Like, not in the same way that I do, right? So I just want you all to know that for yourself, that like, you do have a reason for being here, and your purpose is not like mine. It's not like Lauren's, not like anyone else's. And that's a good thing. It shouldn't be, because there are people out there that you were put on this earth for, that I wasn't, and that's fine. But they need you. um, and so I don't know. I don't think discovering your purpose is something that's like, you know, you find out one minute, you're like, oh my God, you have this like all encompassing moment of, this is why I'm here. You know, it might take years to discover, but just really focusing on like, what brings you passion and why. Like, what do you really like feel like you're called to do? And I don't personally think that we were created with mediocrity. Like, we all have a purpose that is great. Like, we were made to do fantastic things, and you know, I want that for all of you. And so really just encourage you to explore, you know, what that looks like, and hope that, you know, maybe if you need a light for someone in your own life, to, you know, you can feel free to connect. I am here for you. Lauren's here for you. There's some great people out there. And I just desire nothing more than for all of you to thrive in what you were really made to be. Because it's not fair to have someone take that away from you. You don't deserve that, and they don't deserve that credit either, honestly. Yeah. Anyway, one thing I was telling Lauren that I just like really hope you all know is that there are like resources out there to help you. Because I wasn't really made aware of that at the time that I was assaulted. Like I couldn't have told you the first thing about resources that existed out there. But there are a lot, and there are people who want to help you and listen to you and love you and see you right where you're at. I personally am on the board of a nonprofit called Reveal to Heal International, and their mission statement, a little bit about what they do, is that they're a nonprofit dedicated to preventing all forms of child sexual abuse and helping survivors heal from its effects. They exist to empower people to prevent child sexual abuse and embolden survivors in their pursuit of healing and restoration. And that last word, restoration, is probably one of my favorite words, because that's really what all of us need after we go through something like sexual assault. Like there's like something was taken away from you that you didn't ask for. It was hurtful and it needs restored. Quite honestly. And you know, if you can find someone, a resource out there to help, you know, love you and facilitate that process, like please do not let it fester inside of you and just take over your life. It's not, you don't deserve that. So yeah, I just encourage you to be the powerful people that you are, and do not let anyone take away your greatness. Just, yeah, it's not worth it. So yeah, anyway, that's a little bit about what I have to say. Maybe you all have questions, or Lauren has something to say.
I typically always have something to say, now being no exclusion. First off, thank you very much for sharing a bit about your story and your journey. It's definitely very inspiring to me, and I hope it is for others. I imagine it will be. And you are so right. You know, we have so much value to offer the world, and that does not change because someone decided to harm us. It wasn't fair, it wasn't our fault, and it might take us a while to get back on our feet, and that's okay. That still does not take away from our value. And maybe our purpose feels different than it was, you know, before the assault. Maybe there are different things that you want to achieve, and that's totally okay. And it can be hard and a little scary and frustrating to try to find that. But you do have purpose, and you are, you know, supposed to be here. And I'm glad that you're here. I don't know if anybody has any comments, questions for me or Emily. If you do, feel free to chat in. Again, and for folks who are just joining us, I'm Lauren with Me Too Many Voices, and this is author Emily Bernath talking about finding truth and purpose after sexual assault. And she has her iced coffee, which this Insta Live has been sponsored by Emily's iced coffee. Thank you again for being here, Emily. I'm so grateful for you to being in my life and being a part of this community.
Likewise.
Excellent. And again, one other thing I wanted to touch on, Emily talked about resources. If you yourself or a loved one, family member, anyone that needs help finding any resources, you know, please feel free. You can always reach out to me. I know Emily would be happy to help as well. Yeah. As Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood once said, there are helpers out there. Find the helpers, and we are helpers, and we care, and you matter. So thanks again and have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.